Welcome back, or should I say welcome back to the arena. I'm Michael Corrin, because I'm from Essex in Britain. For the uninitiated, that's a part of England that I am from, as is Russell Brand, the British comedian Russell Brand. He's a multi-millionaire, but he likes to play the socialist revolutionary. Well, yesterday he joined a march in London, England, to protest the alleged housing crisis. Thing is, the essence of the demonstration was that the super rich, and this is true, they're buying up homes that formerly went to ordinary people. One reporter, however, had the politically incorrect courage to expose Brand's now legendary fraudulence and flatulence, maybe. Have a look at this.
Part of the problem is the super rich buying property in London, isn't it? How much did you pay for your place?
It's rented, but like
no. What kind of rent are you paying?
Oh, I'm not interested in talking to you about my rent, mate. I'm here to support a very, very important campaign, and you, as a member of the media, have an important duty to help to represent these people.
But we
not
are.
To reframe them,
but it's still a point, isn't it? I mean,
the point is
the demand that the super rich are putting on the London property market.
Unless you're proposing, and no, absolutely not. I would completely deny that. I'd say I'm part of the solution.
His rent could be as much as $15,000. $15,000 a month, by the way. I just want to give some background here. I did grow up about 2 miles from him. My dad was a cab driver, working class family. That's all put on. The accent, it's all put on. There are people, working class people in that part of the world who do speak like him, but he mixes with multi-millionaires and highly educated people all the time. Dropping the H's from the beginning of a word. He's doing that to try and con you, calling you a mate, swallowing certain letters. He's pretending, it's the same way he pretends to be a soccer fan of a particular team from the locale anyway. Makes me mad. I hate that sort of hypocrisy. Anthony Fury joins us. You hate him too, don't you?
He is pretty insufferable, Michael, and he's known most as a film star these days. I mean, he's not making films these days, but I mean, that's his reputation. There is no greater place of income inequality than a film set. You have people making minimum wage or less for running around doing menial tasks, physically laborious tasks for often longer than 12-hour shooting days. And then you have other people whose weekly rate is $250,000, $400,000. Russell Brand is clearly the beneficiary of the largesse
He's worth about $20 million.
of that income inequality scale. So for him to do that is hypocrisy, is guilt. I'm going to chalk it up to guilt.
Well, the persona he's developed, now years ago when he started, when he was only really known to British people, there was something quite Jacobean and interesting about him. Now he's absurdly verbose and not taken seriously. He brought a book out recently that the reviews were incredible. The part of the world he's from, to give you an idea, Maggie Smith, the actress, is from there. Helen Mirren is from there. Ian Holm are from there. That's pretense. I must stress this because people assume that he's one of the people. He's not. There was something very telling a couple of weeks ago. The local team, West Ham United, I'm not a West Ham fan, but they're not a huge team in a way. They've done very well this season. The manager was giving an interview. It's a great achievement what the manager has done. Russell Brand ran into the interview to grab him, to kiss him and say, "Well done, mate." He has to be, let me be part of it, let me take over, let me dominate the happening. It's all about him, it's not about ordinary. We're going to show another clip now. I think we've got 2 more clips because there is one incident which is so incredibly telling and quite funny. Let's see another clip, please.
I can afford my rent and I'm prepared to stand up for people that can't. It's been lovely talking to you.
David Cameron isn't. At least Russell Brand's actually standing up regardless of how big his house is and coming down and helping ordinary people.
Maybe the media
Let's see if David Cameron
as soon as people stand up. No, you're turning. No, there's anyone who's like.
David Cameron's prepared to come out of his big house and help us. He isn't, is he? But Russell Brand has, and thank God there is people like him who's prepared to step out and help people like us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have 300,000 signatures. We would have been kicked out and booted out of London.
Yeah,
so thank God.
Like you, mate, undermine it. You're a snide.
You're a snide. Now, that was wonderful. By the way, they have a point. I mean, part of the problem, and I have an example, my family could never afford to live in London these days. They do have a point, but he grabs her. You can see he's grabbing her and pulling her in. Come and help me, because I'm in a bit of trouble here, girl.
Folk.
Yeah, it was quite incredible. And then he says later on a YouTube broadcast that someone rode in to help him. He grabs her to come and save me.
To the opening points in the first clip, the reason why rents are high in some areas and not high in others is supply and demand economics, Michael. It's obviously basic math. And to the gentleman asking,
it's a lot of Russian and South Asian and Chinese people buying property and leaving it empty, and then rents go up ridiculously high.
It's supply and demand economics, and of course, Brand being willing to pay the 15,000 quid a month is evidence of why this is happening. So he very much is a part of the problem. I think that's plain. But I love, him saying, oh, I'm down with the folks paying their rent. It reminds me of that old joke. Bono's doing a concert up in Scotland or whatever, and he says, every time I clap my hands, a child dies in Africa. And then a Scotsman yells, and stop doing it.
Stop bloody clapping. The thing is, Bono, that's a good example. This is someone, he comes from a mixed Protestant Catholic family. I think his dad was a milkman. He doesn't claim to be of the people and a socialist revolutionary. He's quite cynical about politics, but he tries to do the best he can. He's fairly informed. I rather admire the man in many ways. Russell Brand's a totally different character. There's no evidence that he actually gives his wealth away, that he spends time with ordinary people.
And no evidence of real life experience, no evidence of any depth of thought going into it, like you might see in some things Bono does or in his work. In fact, what grinds my gears the most about Russell Brand is he's having those revelations one has at the age of 15 when one is a socialist for 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And you think you're the first person to have ever had these thoughts, and you go about wearing it on your sleeve. And teenagers go through this. And I would never hold it against a young person I meet who thinks they're the first one to have these ideas. When you have it as a man boy at the age of like 43 or however old he is, it's just embarrassing, and he should be ridiculed from the public square.
I've never said this on TV before. I was in the Young Communist League when I was about 15. I'm so sorry, mea culpa. But in those days, the National Front, the fascist party, was marching through the streets, and those who opposed them were on the far left. Sometimes it was quite unpleasant and physical, but it was a long time ago. I think my dad said, "You're bloody well leaving that." So I did. That was my
The first person I ever voted for was Jack Layton.
Really?
Yeah.
What you said there was extremely pertinent. He's like a teenager, but because he's a millionaire and makes people laugh, and a lot of girls like him, and they do, I can't deny that, he's published and taken in some areas quite seriously. Now, not many now. Most people have said this man is laughable. But he does get his books published. He does write in mainstream newspapers. He does have millions of people who follow him.
I think because he's a cash cow for people. How ironic that he is that commercial capitalist entity that he claims to despise. But that's the shtick, isn't it? I don't know the guy who owns the copyright to the Che Guevara t-shirt, but he's doing quite well today, isn't he?
Let's see another clip. I don't mind which one. I think we have a couple, but they're all they're equally funny and absurd. So whichever one, give it to us now, please.
In spite of a line of questioning I preferred not happening, in spite of me having an emotional reaction and being saved by a gallant woman on a white steed, the fact is it was a wonderful day that showed what happens when a community comes together, supported by 300,000 people, opposing government, media, ineffectual local councils and apathetic politicians, that victories can be won. The Westbrook Corporation will pull out of the New Era estate. They will keep it, and I believe get to run it as a cooperative, and I think it'll inspire people suffering from the same problem all over London, because this is a massive problem. People can't afford places to live. So all of you that are suffering from that, look to the New Era estate, and if you want my help, and I can help, I'll take one on the chin from the Snides for you.
I think a better caption would have been Brand loses face. Okay. Impose the Bolshevik idea in 1917, 1918. Go to his apartment, say, you can still live here in one room. We'll put one family here, another family there. That would begin to solve the problem. Take away 70% of his wealth, maybe. I'm not saying I approve of all this, but that would change things. He is a hypocrite. And most people don't know England, of course. They're not English. But even the free instead of three, he's doing that on purpose. And as you say, it's so teenage, it's infantile.
I also think there's a lot of insecurity there. The fact that anytime he's on a television show, he has to come out with a blog saying, yeah, but and go on for 20 minutes. I mean, I know there's blogs out there talking about why you and I are wrong all over the place.
Really?
And I don't care. You just let it sit. Well, I do. Fine.
It really annoys me, doesn't it?
Well, go do a YouTube post, It's just
I would,
insecure
but I'm 55 years old. I've never even heard of YouTube. As always, a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.